legend is that there was a stone circle.
That's true, I'm going to tell them about that.
Great.
Okay, hi everybody, Bonny here, and I've got a guest with me tonight, and my guest is a chap called Andy. You just introduce Andy. There he is.
Hello everyone, and lovely to meet you, Bonny. Dave. Yeah.
And Dave's here, puppy Dave. He's a little bit shy.
This is the top of my head, so...
Okay, now we're in the Druids Head tonight, which is kind of an interesting pub, isn't it? And, now I'm going to start just by giving you some information about the pub. We've got a couple of books for this. One is the very famous ghost book, The Ghost of Brighton's Lane, written by Rob Marks. At the 7 on the Thursday night, he actually will turn up outside this pub and he will lead tourists around the city, showing them all the different spots where there's been some strange goings on. So there's also this book, Brighton's Pubs, and this has got some really good stuff in it about the Druids Head, which is where I'm sat now. So I'm going to start by just giving you some basic information while we wait for everybody to arrive. So the information that I've gleaned, really, I'm no expert on ghost hunting, is mainly from Rob Marks, from his websites, from his Facebook pages, from his book. And so he's the real expert in Brighton, Rob Marks. There's also a website, and I'll put the link into the Facebook page after this, and it's a website that collates lots of different paranormal and sightings across Sussex, and there's a few for Brighton. So I'll put the link to that later, and you'll be able to kind of investigate that. But we've also tonight got a real privilege in that Andy, who sat next to me here, he's going to be able to actually be giving us a very personal experience. And it's going to be kind of interesting, Andy, to hear about your story.
Yes.
So do you want to introduce yourself and just say who you are?
Andy Dalglish, and Bonny and I have known each other online, so this is in the past, watching her videos and films and stuff. This is the first time we met in person, but feels like
I know.
Really know you.
I know, because we've been chatting online for over a year, 2 years perhaps, something like that. Anyway, so we're going to come back to Andy in a moment. But first of all, what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about the pub that we're sat in at the moment. And it's called the Druids Head. Now, the Druids Head, what can I say? So there is a sign in the floor. I'm looking at it now. And the sign says Druids Head circa 1510. Now, lots of people say that this is the oldest pub in Brighton, the most haunted pub in Brighton. I can accept the most haunted pub in Brighton, but the oldest pub in Brighton, I'm not too sure. The problem is that in 1514, the French came over here and burnt Brighton to the ground. So unless the French thought, oh, I'll have a glass of red wine after we've burnt everybody else except for the pubs, then this pub would not have been here, I'm afraid. So what it appears to be is that there was a cottage here, Fisherman's Cottage. Now, the Fisherman's Cottage had, the fishermen had used some flagstones from a nearby Cluniac, thank you, Auntie, Cluniac Priory. Now, the Cluniac Priory, St Bartholomew's, came under the auspices of the priory over at Lewes. And it was a pretty big priory, literally yards from here. If it stops raining, we might get a chance to go out and have a look at the site. But when that priory was burnt down and also demolished in various ways, different bits of that priory were spread all over Brighton and ended up being used as building materials. Now, the building materials, it is said that the flagstones in this pub are 12th century flagstones. Now, it could be that these flagstones came from that priory. I mean, it's literally yards away. As I look out of the window here, I can literally see where the priory was. So it's possible. And these flagstones, I will show you them in a minute, are pretty amazing. They are 12th century. So the building, the site, can claim heritage from the 12th century, from the flagstones. There may have been a cottage here in 1510. That would almost certainly have been burnt down by the French, because there was literally nothing left in Brighton, apart from St Nicholas Church, which is high on the hill. But apart from that, there was nothing left. It would appear that the first time that the pub that we're sitting in became an inn or a hostelry was 1830, we think. Although there's some question before that, because quite a lot of women folk would brew ale, and they would stick a broomstick onto the roof, and that would indicate that the ale was ready, because it only lasted a few days. Now, I've got two chaps here who will, go into great detail about the difference between beer and ale. I know one of them has got hops and the other one hasn't, or something like that. So, anyway, so it would appear that this building, as it is now, used materials from other buildings, and that it became a pub in 1830. Now, around about 1830, between 1830 and 1850, there was a lot of smuggling in this area, a lot of smuggling. And it was said that underneath this pub, there were two tunnels. Now, one of the tunnels was said to go, they're now blocked up, but it was said that these tunnels went down to the sea so that the smugglers could bring the brandy from France and the rum. And that another tunnel went up to the Royal Pavilion so that the Prince Regent could presumably get some of the smuggled rum and brandy, or I'm not sure it'd come to the pub, but anyway, that was the idea. And there is a story, which is in most of the tourism books, most of the history books about this pub. And it said that one of the smugglers slipped whilst he was being chased by a customs officer, and that he slipped and died in one of the tunnels. Now, another story says that he was bludgeoned to death by the customs officers, and yet another story says that he escaped, and that he got onto the beach, that two soldiers were given the job of escorting the smuggler down to Shoreham, where he was going to be put in irons and into prison, but that the smuggler persuaded the soldiers to drink some of the booze that he had, and that they got drunk and fell asleep on the beach, and he escaped. So there's all sorts of smuggling stories that I could tell you about. Now, that's just the start of the story about the Druids Head. The Druids Head is known for having quite a lot of paranormal activity here. What I've picked up from the books, there's a few stories to tell. We've already got a pint of beer that is moving and sliding across the table. Oh my goodness. I am just going to hand you over to Andy, who's going to tell you what has just happened there.
Well, I was focused on Bonny and my pint of beer just started sliding to the edge of the table. That was really quite unexpected.
That was strange.
Well,
that moved right across the table.
It's not particularly wet,
but that moved literally right across the table. Oh my God.
I assure you that's it's absolutely genuine.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That was weird.
Keep hold of anything.
Now, Andy, when I was talking about this online, you messaged me and said that you had a few tales to tell.
Indeed.
And that you would be happy to meet us here for a pint of beer.
I'm glad we have.
And to tell your tales. Now, the tales that I've managed to get out of books, and I don't know how true any of this is, but anyway, the Druids Head name comes from a ring of stones that were excavated nearby, and possibly that these were stones that were laid here by Druids, and that these were old Saracen stones. Now, yeah, the Saracen stones. Now, the local area is called the Old Steam. Now, steam, S-T-A-E-N-E, is another word for stone.
Yes.
And that workmen unearthed a whole big henge of Saracen stones, and that the name of the pub was first applied for in about 1850, but it was first called the Druid, it first became a pub in 1825, so it wasn't for 25 years until they actually named it the Druids Head, which is quite interesting. Now, we've talked about the fact that it was possibly a fisherman's cottage in 1510, and that was burnt down by the French. Now, I just want to talk about some deaths. The bootlegger who slipped to his death on wet steps in the Smuggler's Passage, that would have been in August 1742, which is interesting because that's before this place became a pub. But he was a smuggler and there was a passage underneath, so it could have been a smuggling house.
Yes.
Okay. There's also some story about the fact that the flagstones came from the 12th century monastery. Now, it could be to do with monks. Monks could be haunting the place, we don't know. In recent years, say 150 years ago, it was used as a parcel office. It doubled up as a goods carrier's house. It was refurbished in the 60s, which is when they found the block tunnels. It was refurbished in 2020, and apparently since then there hasn't been too much that's been going on. Now, the sightings. This is what I've gleaned from the books. There's been a sighting of a woman in a long red dress. I don't know much about that. There are hundreds of witnesses that have stated that bottles move, glasses move, your beer glass move, that lights flicker, that there are drops in temperature that are very noticeable. The publican who owned the place in the 70s, he had 3 children, and they used to claim that they saw funny men when the pub was all locked up and closed. There have been floating apparitions that have been seen by people. Ooh, actually, I've got the shivers now. Have you just felt that coldness go through?
Like
oh my goodness.
Not a coldness as such, but a shiver.
A shiver.
A nervous.
Yeah.
Your nerves are picking up.
Oh my goodness, I've just had that.
Right.
And that there was a massive increase in poltergeist activity in 2019, where there would be spinning bottles. There was a couple that had a bottle of wine, it was empty, it fell over on the table and started spinning anti-clockwise, glasses flying through the air, and exploding beer glasses, which, you know, Andy,
start that.
I know, Andy, that's all I've got really for you,
Well,
but over to you really.
It's a fantastic.
It gives you a start,
background.
doesn't it? Now, can you start with your story?
Yeah, I'm a little bit shaken by what's just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely more spirits in here than behind the bar.
Right.
And I can testify to that personally. It was Halloween 2014, and my friend Nadja and Mark, we popped in here for a quick aperitif before Rob Marks's Ghost Walk of the Lanes at 7:30, and we were standing in this very area. Just behind me, you can see a pillar with a clock on it.
Yeah.
Back then, it had a framed notice on there.
Oh, that one there?
That's exactly it, yeah. In the same position. I was standing with my back to the pillar, about 3 feet in front of it. My friend Nadja started staring at me in a very strange way. The next moment, the frame notice flew off the pillar and hit me on the back. I'm over 6 foot tall.
Now you're a pretty sensible guy. You work for the fire service.
Yeah. I deal with pension calculations, so spreadsheets are my thing. I'm not prone to flights of fancy.
No, you're a pretty sensible guy, and the fire service is pretty, rock solid. And,
Oh, absolutely.
So this is a regular guy telling you the story. That's why it's so impressive.
So I had Nadja as a witness, Mark as a witness. There was the lady behind the bar back then. She witnessed it. I was nowhere near the pillar, and it didn't just fall. It went horizontally and hit me in the back.
So like it was powered.
Something moved it against the force of gravity.
Wow.
Because it was held up by string
Yeah.
with on a screw
Yeah.
into the wood. Now, if that string had just corroded, for want of a better word, or broken,
Would have gone down.
it would have fallen, how can I say, like that,
Yeah.
down, as gravity
Yeah.
kicked in.
But it went forward.
So it went horizontally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
I don't think the glass broke,
Right.
which is quite amazing, really. And then, yes, so three witnesses to it. And then the lady behind the bar said, "Well, you weren't anywhere near that, were you?" I said, "No."
And had you had any beer at that point?
It was the first pint.
First pint, so wow.
That was it. So it wasn't intoxication or anything.
Now I'm just going to interrupt just for a moment. You can't see off screen, but my hubby Dave has got a beady eye on that clock on the pillar, and he's keeping an eye on it to see, just in case it jumps off the wall. And it's that clock there. That's exactly where it was.
It was exactly
Anyway,
the spot.
back to Andy's story.
But very interestingly, the lady behind the bar picked the thing up from the floor, put it on the bar here, and I noticed the string at the back hadn't just worn through. I can only describe it as like, I don't know, like say an old dressing gown with tassels on it.
Yeah.
So, rather than just being broken, the fibres of the string had like been separated.
Oh wow.
Some force moved the frame
Yeah.
and separated the fibres of the string.
Wow.
It was very, very strange, and there was an unusual feeling, like
we just
we
felt
just felt, yeah,
We just had
like
that shiver feeling.
a nervous. It's like your nerves.
Like a chilling.
Something's
Yeah.
interacting with the nerves in your back. Very strange feeling.
People who've just joined recently, as we started this, Andy's beer slid across the table.
Yeah, and it's not actually
It's not
damp,
wet.
but it's not wet.
That was a weird thing, a really weird.
I'll state here and now, if this poltergeist messes with my beer, there will be trouble.
It'll be big trouble. Somebody, Claire is asking, has the pub ever called in a medium? I think it has. There have been in the past.
I couldn't tell you, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me.
I think in the local paper there's been various articles about it. Yeah. If you just joined me, we are talking about one of the Brighton pubs, and Marks, who wrote this book, The Ghosts of Brighton's Lanes, and he's written a whole chapter all about the Druids Head. That's where we are now. He's got some fantastic stories to tell. And in fact, behind us, just turn this round, you'll see that there is in fact a poster on the wall advertising his ghost walks. And at 7:30 today, he turns up outside this pub and he takes people on ghost walks around the town, which is pretty amazing.
You just don't have to book, just turn up and pay.
Yeah,
there.
I think it's £7 or something.
I think it's 12 actually.
Oh, it's gone up then.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's the expert. And it's about an hour and a quarter and you go down the lake. So
it's very entertaining.
If it's not raining, that's what Dave and I are going to do after we've had a drink with you.
Can I join you?
Yeah, definitely.
It'll be a bit of a late night for me. But,
yeah. But have you done the walk before? A long time ago, perhaps?
In 2014, that's the last time I came in here.
That'd be brilliant. So there'll be 3 of us on the walk. I just thought it'd be rather fun.
Yeah.
Now, what other stories have you got to tell?
Oh, dear me.
Have a slurp of your beer.
I think I have to. Thanks, Bonny.
Now, just while Andy sorts himself out, I'm going to read you something from Rob's book, Rob Marks' book, and I hope he won't mind. It's a bit of plagiarism, but, you know, we're advertising his tours as well. Now, it says in here, and I didn't know this, it says that the Druids were a priestly civilization originating from Gaul in Germany. France. Yeah, but before that, Germans, Asterix and all that, yeah. The Romans took a firm stance against the Druids and their heinous practices. Emperor Augustus, which was 27 BC to AD 14, he forbade all Roman citizens from participating in Druidic rituals, and further measures in suppressing Druidism throughout the Roman Empire were undertaken by Emperor Tiberius in opposition to their many barbaric rites, often culminating in human sacrifice. Now, there's some suggestion here then by Rob that he says, due to the amount of unexplained goings-on in the pub, one is drawn to wonder whether the paranormal activity reported should be associated with the troubled souls of those allegedly sacrificed on the ground here, where the pub now stands. One particular incident, which occurred in the early 1990s, could add some validity to the theory. Now, what do you think? I'm not sure about that. What do you think about the Druid idea? Turn it back on Andy.
Druids are very interesting, and obviously they existed, and they've mainly ended up in the sort of Celtic parts, especially Anglesey.
Yes. Mainly because they ended up across in Wales, Scotland and Ireland, because they were running away from the Vikings, weren't they?
Yeah, and
pretty much.
However, I think from memory, in Victorian times, there was a trend to accredit all sorts of things to the Druids. For instance, you might have seen in Hove Park.
Yes, the Goldstone.
The Goldstone, exactly.
Now, I gave a tour about the Goldstone.
Yes,
and there's quite a lot of, I talked about the difference between myth, legend and history, and even the official history is wrong.
There's a little plaque, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a little
this
plaque.
This is the Druid thing.
Yeah.
But the Goldstone is not, well, it's a natural
Well, we've got a geologist with us. My husband is a geologist, and he's not sure what it is. A pudding stone, perhaps?
I'm sure I know what it is.
You're sure you know what it is? Okay, well, we'll come back. We'll come back to the Goldstone. He thinks it's a pudding stone.
Yes. With my limited geological knowledge, I would say so. Because have you ever been to the Engineerium?
Yes.
In the grounds of the Engineerium?
Yes.
There's a folly made out of much smaller conglomerate. Yeah.
And there's a lot of these Saracen stones all over Sussex.
Yes.
Somebody's made a map of them all. But if there was Druid activity in this area, possibly that could account for sacrificial rituals or whatever. I mean, who knows how far we go back? I mean, we're thinking about going back to the 12th century with these flagstones. And we're thinking about smugglers, and we're thinking about all sorts of different possibilities for why that thing leapt off the wall.
Yes.
But coming back to one of your stories, so that's your first story.
Oh yeah, it's not related to the Druids Head, I'm afraid, but again, absolutely genuine experience. I used to be the out-of-hours grocery manager at Asda Hollingbury, so I was responsible for making sure the shop was stocked overnight.
Now Hollingbury is famous for having an Iron Age fort.
Yes.
Now I've walked up there many times. Yeah. So I'll put a link to the Iron Age fort in the Facebook group.
I've never thought of that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was so I was doing the twilight shift. About 50 odd people working there. Regularly working till 1 o'clock in the morning, so we were used to doing those hours. One night, all of the shelf fillers had left for the night. It was just me and two of the supervisors there. I was just tidying up the shop, a little bit of the shop floor. Glanced up towards the checkouts from the back of the store, and I saw a tall male figure, quite statuesque, wearing a blue top. I assumed it was the security guard Doug, because he used to wear, he was a man of stature, and he wore a blue denim top. It was fuzzy, and I just thought that was my eyes. So then I gave him a thumbs up to say I was nearly finished, and no response. If it was Doug, he would have acknowledged. He would have nodded it. Then the figure stepped forward behind the end of the aisle, so I couldn't see it. I was still looking, and it took one step back, like that, and it was looking at me. Believe it or not, it didn't have a face. It was like a fuzzy. There was no face. It was just a fuzzy image.
Like black or grey or white?
It was coloured. You could see the blue, the blue of the top. I can't remember the hair, but they have no facial features, just a fuzzy.
Oh my
God. I got a theory, and basically it was. The story was that it was a guy, they called him George, like the clothing range. It's a bit of a joke, really. And he met an unfortunate end in the factory that was there. He died on the site. And I've seen it. He came back. And I wasn't the only one. People didn't tend to talk about it.
No, you're a sensible guy. What did you make of it?
To start with, I thought it was Doug, the security guard. Then I thought, well, he hasn't responded. Maybe it's the lorry driver.
So you tried to make sense of it?
Yeah. It's maybe the tachograph had run out.
Yeah.
And he's having to have a break.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, because the lorry arrived 3 hours before, so it wouldn't be the lorry driver.
Yeah.
And it took me about 3 minutes for it to kick in that, hang on, I just seen George. And that would be, I just assumed it was a human being.
Oh my goodness me.
But no, it wasn't. It was genuinely George.
Goodness.
Bless him, he's still there.